Welcome to Lykken on Lending, the podcast that dives deep into the heart of the mortgage industry. Your host, David Lykken, bringing you the latest insights, trends, and updates from the world of mortgages. Whether you're a seasoned industry veteran or just getting started, this show is your go-to source for all things mortgage. On Lykken on Lending, we're not just about delivering information, we're about delivering it in a way that's lively, engaging, and yes, even entertaining. You'll hear from a wide range of regular contributors, experts who make the complexities of the mortgage business not just understandable, but enjoyable. Our goal? To keep you informed on the operational aspects of the industry. Everything from regulations and compliance to technology and market trends, without ever being boring. We believe that staying up to date doesn't have to be dull, and our interactive conversational style ensures you'll be hooked from the get-go. So get ready for detailed discussions, lively debates, and a wealth of knowledge that will help you navigate the ever-changing landscape of the mortgage industry. Let's get started. This is Lykken on Lending. Now your host, David Lykken.
Listeners, we're in for a real treat today. What we try to do on Lykken on Lending is bring you information about what's happening, things that are going to be entering into the market, opportunities that are entering the market, services that are entering the market. And today, we're going to be talking about some new opportunities for you that will give you an advantage as you're selling into the marketplace. Joining me is a good friend, a business partner, a co-host on our TV program together, Allan Weiss. Allan, good to have you here.
Good to be here.
Allan is the founder and CEO of Weiss Analytics, but he has got quite a journey that I'm really excited to share with you. We're going to start with his journey, and this is all tying to what he's doing now. I talk about what is your passion. When you identify your passion, you really start identifying what your purpose and what your why is. And so I'm really excited to share with you, our listeners, Allan's why and what it can do for you. So pay attention. Allan, let's start with you and your background. You started a very significant initiative while you were at Yale. If you could share with you already had gotten your undergraduate degree in computer programming or in computer science, I believe. And then you went to Yale. Pick it up from there and share what you did with Professor Case-Shiller.
Sure. I was in a 2-year management program at Yale, equivalent to an MBA, but I already went in with the mindset that I was very interested in real estate. I'd already had a career for a few years in technology. Undergraduate was computer science and physics. I'd worked for Atari, the video game company, went over to a much more buttoned down culture at Arthur D. Little. But I started to experiment with real estate development in my late 20s. Me and a friend bought a 3-family house and we were working on converting it to condos. And that was the foundation I was standing on when I got to Yale. Before that, technology work and then beginning to get into real estate. And the two were merging in my mind at that point. It was long before anyone had the terms like fintech or prop tech or any of that stuff. And I wanted to figure out 2 things. How did people who had any concern about real estate, whether they were a homeowner or professional, how did they, A, know what's going on, and B, what were the financial tools to do something about it? Because it seemed like a really important thing. Everyone deals with this. That was the foundation mentally and in terms of my experience that got me to that point.
What's really interesting about this is you were most concerned about, as we've talked about this, but I'm buying this home. We're putting a lot of money into this property. Is it going to go up or is it going to go down? What are the trends? That's where you got introduced when you were contemplating. I know where the stock market's going. I can see where all of those trends, but I can't see where the housing market is going. And that was troubling for you, if I recall your story. And you go, there's got to be a solution. And that's where Professor Case came into the situation. Or was it Professor Shiller?
Professor Shiller, yeah. What happened was, if you think about it, I had done some investing in real estate.
Right.
And I was already like an information data kind of person from computer science and physics work and education. And then we're at Yale and we're learning about you should hold a diversified portfolio. And here's all these information about stock markets and diversification and all the things you should do to manage your portfolio. And I'm thinking, wait a second, I'm pretty average here. I owned a place at the time. I had a place that's of significant value, but almost all of it was in a mortgage. And so I was very leveraged, and I knew I wasn't very diversified. And I was asking professors, so how does the average, we're all told to own a home. How does the average person diversify?
Right.
And we're also told we're supposed to diversify, and it's just fantastic to diversify. That's what everyone should be doing. How am I supposed to own a home that I owe 90% on and diversify? Not just me, but I don't know, 50 million other homeowners. What's going on here? These two don't go together. How do we make these two go together?
That's really interesting. If I understand, someone made you aware, you need to go talk to Professor Shiller over in the economics department. Take the story. How did that meeting go? And I know you, gotten to know you, and which is really out of character for you because you're a little bit of an introvert.
I'd say so in some way. Yeah, I can be both. If I get excited, like I said, my favorite topic, I can pretty much do anything socially, but normally I drift back towards my little math world, which is where I meditate on things and think of what seems to be missing in the world. I go back and forth between the two. Going in that state, dealing with this seeming contradiction, own a home, own a diversified portfolio, but borrow 95% or 80% to own the home. Those don't go together. How do you find out what's going on so I even know that's a dumb idea or not?
You and your friend bought a house. You're leveraged in that house big time, and it's your primary investment. And you've been studying about the importance of diversification. You're going, these two aren't fitting together really well for me. How can I solve this? That's which began to create what has turned out to be a life's work for you. Get into that and how you met Dr. Shiller.
Yes, if you're going to diversify, you have to know what you're diversifying. It started with information. There's two questions. Like, I want to diversify. A, what is this asset I'm doing? Is it rising? Is it falling? Is it about to rise? I got to know what I own.
Yeah, you got to know what that house you bought is good doing, and you didn't.
Yeah, and even then, you could look up a stock portfolio. You could look up the S&P 500, but you can't look up what my house is doing. There's nothing like that out there at that time. So I asked professors at the School of Management. They said, talk to Bob Shiller in the economics department. I walked over to his office, knocked on his door and said, I hear you have these indexes. Can you help me? This is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to understand rationalizing diversification and home ownership. He said, sure. And we started to work together.
That's so exciting. And he handed you a paper, and that really started on what became the Case-Shiller Weiss Corporation. And it really started giving indexes about communities, but it was not granular. Talk about, it was a great improvement over what was, which was nothing. There was nothing before. Now you guys created, talk about that briefly. And I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on, but I want to explain conceptually what that was. Most people that are listening to this know what the Case-Shiller Index is.
Yeah.
But so fill us in a little bit of how this began to solve a problem, but also the deficiencies in that.
Sure thing. What we started with was a paper that was called New Indexes for 4 Cities. And it covered 4 metro areas with a very clean data set. And a couple of years after I graduated from Yale, this whole issue of diversification and risk was on my mind because this was during a period of time when home prices had fallen severely in the Northeast and Southern California. And I saw my friends suffering. The people had bought condos that were now underwater. And then now they're living in a house. They bought a house and they're raising a family, but they're diligently trying to pay the mortgage on the condo by renting it out as they're underwater. This is a risk. There's no way people can manage this risk.
Right.
We have fire insurance. We have life insurance. We have all kinds of insurance. Why isn't there insurance for this thing? So this was bothering me. I thought of this idea of home equity insurance. I called Bob Shiller 2 years after I graduated and I said, Bob, I feel like there's still something missing here. We should have something called home equity insurance. And he said, I've been thinking about something along the similar lines. I think there should be a futures market in home prices. We agreed that we would form a company that worked on both things. And that company was Case-Shiller Weiss because he introduced me to his academic partner, Chip Case at Wellesley College. The 3 of us formed Case-Shiller Weiss to address just that, to create home equity insurance and a futures market in single family homes. We did not set out to create an index. The index was a means to an end. If you have the index, you can enable people to hedge. If you don't have an index, you can't. We built the index at a contract with the Chicago Board of Trade. That's how it all started. So people could hedge home prices.
That's interesting to get to that station, and the solution to get there turned out to be the real product that really took off.
Exactly. Yeah. And as you say, that we built indexes at first at the metro area we expanded from the 4 cities in the paper to hundreds of cities around the country. Fortunately for us, public paper describes the method of producing the indexes, but you couldn't use that method for 100 cities because the data was too noisy and messy. They had a very pristine data set that they were able to use for the model to produce the 4 cities. Bob Shiller and I and others had to completely rework the model for it to work nationally and be updated all the time. That's what became the case.
Okay.
Called the Case-Shiller Index. It wasn't really the same as the paper because if it had been, everyone could have copied it.
Right.
So we kept the method. To this day, did that to be able to deal with public record data and produce accurate metro indexes. But they're only metro indexes. Every metro has, in some cases, millions of houses.
It's amazing.
Not every house is the same, right? So that doesn't tell you what's going on with a house, let alone a market. Then we figured, let's try to do 5-digit zip code indexes. And we succeeded in doing that. We had a set of zip code indexes and metro indexes, and that's where we stopped. And that was good enough at the time for the uses we found. Not the financial products, but information to help investment banks, rating agencies, government agencies track the value and risk in houses at market levels. That's what Case-Shiller Weiss was all about. That's what Case-Shiller Index is all about.
You built what became the industry standard for understanding the direction of housing values in the United States. You still didn't get to the primary thing you wanted to do, but there was so much value just in that the Case-Shiller report got quoted all major news stations, and anyone looking at the housing market, they'd always say the Case-Shiller Index says this, and which again owned by Case-Shiller Weiss, and you were the CEO of that and helped bring that all together. You sold that company at one point, and I think you said you sold it to Fiserv, and then Fiserv eventually sold that to CoreLogic. So that's where that sits today. Am I correct?
Yes, except there's a few important elements that I think matter, which is that when we sold the company to Fiserv, we retained the rights to use the indexes to create futures contracts and other financial products. 10 years later, from before the founding to that point, I still hadn't given up on the main goal. It was interesting to produce indexes. I was happy to provide better information to all these people who needed it for all kinds of reasons. Right. But the main goal was to not just know what's happening, but be able to do something about it. Fiserv bought the company, and we retained the rights to use the indexes for any sort of financial product, meaning if a party wants to be long the market, another party wants to short the market, the index can decide, did it go up or down, and the two parties can settle up. And that led to a second company that ended up creating a futures market on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange that would make a long or short a metro area like San Francisco or New York or the whole country.
That's so interesting. And I'd love to dive into that. But what I really want to expose our listeners to is you were the creator of the Case-Shiller Index. You saw the need, and you're the one that helped bring this to market. Obviously, Dr. Shiller, Bob Shiller, had done a lot of work in this area and working with Chip Case, but it was really you and the vision that you had that really brought this market because of the overriding need.
I would say that it was my realization that the market needed this, and that's what I pushed for. I would say in terms of the technical work, it was a collaboration of all of us.
Yeah, good way to put it. But you sold the companies. Now you're sitting, you're going, you got some time, you're raising your son, you're getting a chance to go on, but you never let go of the vision. Now fast forward to what you're working on today, because this is what I want to get to this podcast, to what you're doing now, because it's going to create some advantages for the lenders that are out there, the realtors that might be listening to this. We focus with Lykken on Lending mostly to the lending community. I want to talk about what your vision is now and what you're focusing on.
I always do that these products, this inability to hedge or insure against home price decline, the party that's most impacted by that is the homeowner. At the end of the day, they're holding the bag more than the lender or any other party. However, if the homeowner can hedge their risk, then by extension, the lender is also hedging their risk. So the lender almost gets a free ride on the ability of the homeowner to hedge.
And explain what you mean by hedging, the homeowner hedging their risk. Explain a little bit more what you mean by that.
I'm combining two concepts, insurance
Right.
and financial hedging. So financial hedging would be like buying put options on a stock. Let's say I own a stock that's $105 and I'm worried it's going to go down. I can pay a fee to get an option to sell my stock
Right.
$105.
Which
So
is a
in the
put
event-
option. Yep.
Yeah. In the event it goes down and trades for below 105 and I want to sell the stock and not lose any money, I say, I'm putting my shares to you. Now you have to buy them from me for 105. I don't care what it's now trading for. I paid you for the right to do this, like an insurance policy, and now I'm not going to lose any money. That's hedging. There's no such thing as getting a put option on your house.
There is that thing.
In essence, people ought to be able to, in effect, buy an insurance policy that in the event they have to sell at a time when that price is lower than what they paid, difference, the loss, like from 105 down to 195,
Right.
be paid by a third party. That idea ultimately turned out not really to make sense because that would be an expensive thing to buy and it would be an expensive thing to insure. And it requires the homeowner to come out of pocket. The real opportunity now is noticing that so many people have a huge amount of equity in their homes. In fact, nearly half U.S. homeowners have any mortgage at all. It would be super easy for them to hedge in a much more attractive way. They say, I don't need to own 100% of the equity in my house. I just want to get to control it and live in it. Why don't I sell, let's say, 20% of my house to someone else? It's like physically my house is one thing, but economically I've split it into two pieces.
I really want to dive into this because this is really so innovative and a concept that many people have no idea could happen. And you've had this as a mission and a goal almost since day one. And what it is for someone that has, let's say they have $250,000 equity in a home. They bought a home. They have a mortgage. They got one of those low interest rates. They don't want to get rid of that mortgage, but they have need. They may have some financial needs, or they just may say, I want to go invest in some other things. They can now sell like shares, like stock shares. They can sell shares or an interest in their home out to investors. And there are investors that are interested in buying that. Let's use an example of someone who has a $500,000 home. They have a $250,000 mortgage there, and you lenders, you made that mortgage loan, and that borrower that you made the loan for has $250,000 equity. So give us a use case that you think would be compelling for helping the lender in their agent relationship with the real estate agent.
Think of that homeowner being approached by an agent that mortgage broker wants to work with. That agent is going to come to the homeowner and they're going to say, are you thinking of selling soon? And the homeowner is going to say, I'm not thinking of selling now. I'm thinking of selling in a year. Right now, all the agent can do is say, very good. Please think of me. I'll call you later. With the ability to sell a piece of your house at the ValShare, now the real estate agent can say, you're thinking of selling in a year. The market's getting fragile. Why don't you take some chips off the table? For the first time, you can sell a piece of your house now, and I can help you do it. So why don't you sell 20% of your house now, get the cash, use it to fix up the house so you get more for the house when you do sell it, or maybe it can help you look for the next house. And then I, the real estate agent, will get the listing now because I'm giving them the ability to sell a piece of it now. They're transacting. I get the listing for both the portion of the house they're selling now and then the whole listing in a year. Whereas before I had nothing to offer them. All I could do is come back later. If the mortgage broker can introduce that to the real estate agent, they're giving them an incredible tool because most of the time the homeowners are saying, homeowners who are going to sell in a year don't transact. And most of the time they're going to sell in a year before they sell. They know they're going to sell in a year, but there's nothing to do. But if the mortgage broker could say, hey, Mr. Real Estate Agent, tell them, why don't you take some chips off the table? Sell now. Get the listing for the entire house now, and I can give you the tool to do it. You've doubled the size of the market because there's many people who are thinking of selling and they would love to get the cash. And if the agent could, that's another kind of real estate transaction that you are giving them that simply doesn't exist.
That's a real advantage for the lender to be able to bring a tool like this. So ValShares is what we're talking about in there. Through the ValShares component of Weiss Analytics, you're able to sell this out, correct?
Yeah. Share is the financial product you are using to sell a piece of your house. It's a share of the value of your house. That's why it's ValShare.
Very good. I love it. One of the things you also are doing in addition to ValShares that I think is so exciting is you're able to create an index in every single house. Let's get into that part because I think this gets really exciting when we're starting to talk about how to look at a real estate market, even down to the neighborhood, down to the house. Explain to what you're doing with this product.
The reason we created Weiss Analytics was because Case-Shiller only goes down to the zip code. And I became aware that prices even within a zip code can vary quite a bit in terms of their price path. And everybody should want to know that. If you're buying a house, selling a house, listing a house, lending on a house, if it's going down 10% a year, that's a very different kind of transaction than if it's going up. And that can happen even houses that are right next to each other. If you imagine a house that's old and small and worth $600,000 physically next to a house that's large and new and worth $2 million, that happens sometimes. One could be going up while the other's going down. And what Weiss Analytics does is it fills that vacuum of information. Sure, on average, that zip may be going up 2% a year, but how much is that house going up and how much is that house going down? We answer that question because we have 100 million price indexes, one for every house in the country, compared to Case-Shiller Weiss, which had 5,000 zip code indexes. We took it from 5,000 zip code indexes to 100 million house indexes. And these are very valuable as an input into a real estate appraisal to know, should I time adjust the comps up or down accurately? The agencies are very interested in this and they're trying to crack this problem. And we're talking to them about that. And FHFA is interested in this. Homeowners are interested in this. We give this product away for free to homeowners so they can manage their risk. We give it to real estate agents for free, but it also plays a critical role in this product because what we say is when the investor and the homeowner settle up, so you sold 20% of your equity in that $250,000 equity scenario. A year later, now that homeowner selling the house, the investor needs to get their share of the return. What is that return? We use the Weiss index at the house level to say, how much did that investment in that house up or down during the year that the investor owned a piece of it? We use the index because it's completely accurate, it's objective, and if the homeowner fixed up the house, the index doesn't know. So the homeowner doesn't have to share investment in the house with the investor. And alternatively, if the homeowner did not invest enough in the house and they didn't get full typical value they should have gotten, the index doesn't know about that either. So we've disentangled the house into two pieces. The piece that the investor and the homeowner want to share is the market-driven value chain, not the house value chain. The house condition or size change, the index doesn't know. That's between the homeowner and themselves, just like with a mortgage. But if the market changed, that's what they share with the investor.
Okay. What I want to talk about is, again, what is the AVM product?
An automated valuation is called ValPro. ValShare is to share the value, and ValPro is to get a professional quality valuation. And AVV is automated vision valuation.
I want to dive into this because this is such a powerful tool that I think gets really exciting for the lenders on here. Now, lenders, this does not replace the need for an appraisal, but it does give you and your realtor a real advantage when it comes to how to set the price of a listing. You as a mortgage loan originator or you owning a mortgage company, you want to find a way to have a deeper relationship with the realtor. So you already heard about ValShare, how you can sell off, advise them how to get a listing that way. Now, this is another aspect of Weiss Analytics, because what this does is allow you to give this tool or introduce this tool to the realtor who is listing homes for sale. They can go in and use this analytics. Talk a little bit about what is ValPro as far as how this can help a realtor list a home.
ValPro is an automated way to arrive at the value of a house, but it's completely adjustable and visible as to how we arrived at it. So the agent can participate in the final value. We perform what people would call an AVM and we come up with a dollar value. but we also show all the comps we used. And if the agent doesn't agree with the comps chosen, they can click them on and off, and they can watch on a map as they're clicking them on and off, or they can literally click on the map. They can look at every single one of those comps and decide which ones they like. They can use comps of houses that have sold, or they can use comps of houses that are currently listed. They can even get photographs of all the comps. And if they've already taken the photographs on the subject house, they can line up all the photographs of the outside of the house, of the subject house, and the comparative comps that they've chosen. And then the next row can be the kitchens all compared and the bathrooms all compared. And they can literally scan their eye across and see the subject house and all the comps. They can decide for themselves, is this a good comp? But more importantly, it's a fantastic tool for a presentation, because you can sit down with the homeowner and say, here are the comps I've chosen, and here's why. These houses are on the market. Here's the outside photo, what they're asking. We line everything up so you can compare bedrooms, bathrooms, square feet, year built, see the photos of the outside and all the different rooms. And we've used AI to give a visual score, the condition and quality of the outside, and then a condition and quality, the bathrooms, the subject house, the one you're trying to list, and all those comps. So you can switch comps in and out automatically, or click of a button to get to the comps that you want to present to arrive at the price you want. And as you switch out comps, you'll see that the valuation is automatically changing, and it's helping guide you very quickly to the comps that best match the subject house. By the time you show up, you spent very little time, because it's a beautiful presentation comparing the house to be sold against the comps, which I think is a powerful tool to win the homeowner over, that you get them, you get their market. You're going to be really smart about how to price the house, get the most dollars for it, and be realistic.
Listeners, you can learn more by going to Your Home Coast to Coast. We're going to put a link in the show notes so you can literally watch this and see a video on how this works. It's Kathy Ireland's network. Alan and I are doing a TV program together called Your Home Coast to Coast. We literally demonstrate this product that you can visually see and get a greater understanding about this. But those that want to learn more could actually want to go to Weiss Analytics and start working with this a bit. How can we direct them to there?
Yeah, so if you go to weissanalytics.com, you end up on a landing page. You can register and try the product at no charge. We'll provide you the first few for free, and then you can try ValPro and see how the valuation works without photos. If you upload photos, you can try the method I described, where you see the photos all in a row, the subject house and all the comps, and see exactly how it's going to be presented to the homeowner. The other thing you might do is go to the consumer version, which is what we let people know about, that's free on our television show, Your Home Coast to Coast. If you use the QR code for that version, you're going to see what the consumer sees. And that's a simplified version, which I think probably is the best place to start. If you just want to get an idea of the power of this thing, get a one-page report on a house. You'll see all the photos of the house. You'll see the condition and quality score of the house and the comps we've chosen. And then you see the dollar value. And you could imagine, what if you didn't like that comp? Then give you other choices, or you can enter your own choice. You can get to the dollar value that you think is right with evidence of why it's right that is immediately understandable to a homeowner in just a few minutes. And then you can give them the insight you have, also show the trend. And I think it helps people trust that this person knows their market and they relate to me because they've connected my house, me, to that market. I think it's a terrific sales tool because it's a terrific educational tool. And I think the best financial decisions come from financial education. And that puts you in the role educator. Let me explain to you what's going on in this market. Here's why you can trust me. I'm the expert. I'm the local market expert.
One of the great stories we tell in the TV program is about my daughter buying a home up in Dallas. And you and I were having a conversation. You said, Dave, let's run ValPro on this and see if she's getting a good deal. She's buying it. We entered in the property address. We found out that she's buying it right. You actually confirmed she's actually buying it at the market value. But you also identified, ValPro, that the property in that neighborhood and that whole area is actually starting to tip down and it's starting to go down in value. That was a concern for me as our dad. This is her first home with she and her husband and our granddaughter living in their first home that started to decline in value. He says, but Dave, is this a recent listing? if we can maybe take a look at the kitchen and what the rooms look like, let's value those. So what you've done by working with Fannie Mae, as everyone may know, has standards by which they judge a home, they rate a home as far as the condition, and they increase the value or decrease the value. Appraisers use this, you use this. We went to the listing of this home and you said, Dave, let's take a look at this. You started dragging pictures literally right out of the listing from the realtor.com website or Zillow, whichever one it was. And you were dragging them over into the Weiss Analytics and to the ValPro tool. And you were letting your AI analyze those pictures based on the Fannie Mae standards. And it was, again, providing a value. Explain how this works. Because what it ended up doing, Allan, I just finished the story, then you explain it, is while she was buying it at the market and the market is beginning to head down, the value of the improvements that the homeowner who was selling the home had done had increased the value another $30,000. So she could literally lose $30,000 on the market value just based on the property because the value was actually elevated by another $30,000 because the home improvements the seller had put into the home. That is just such a powerful tool.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Said, wait a minute, what is she asking? Give me the address. We ran first ValPro without AI, and we came within $500 of what she's paying. That was comforting. However, we saw that the market for that house was going down because we have the house index for that house. So I said, is it listed? Can we get photos? Like you said, we simply took the listing photos into our system. We performed AI on the photos and we picked up that kitchen was in pristine condition and brand new. And bathrooms were also in pristine condition. And our AI determined, given the pristine condition in that market, that house was actually worth $30,000 more than we had originally thought, because we didn't know about that information. This is a condition-aware value that can inform someone that the house is worth more or less than typical once we know that. In your case, it was wonderful. You discovered your daughter was buying a house worth $30,000 more than we thought, $30,000 more that she was paying. That clinched the deal, or at least it seemed to me
it did
give you a lot of comfort. When someone's trying to sell a house and the agent can walk the buyer through this and discover that this sort of bump, this premium is there in the dollar value from the AI third party that isn't you or it's not opinion, it's scientifically arrived at. I think it's a wonderful tool to make sure you're buying the right house at an attractive price. That what makes transactions happen is information, comforting information that I'm doing the right thing. Anything that we can do to improve that now with AI helps make deals happen. And we want to get that in the hands of agents. And if you mortgage brokers can help do that, you'll be helping the agent, you'll be their friend, and you'll help more deals happen for them and good deals for the homeowner.
It's just such a powerful tool. When I saw this, I got so excited. Yeah, obviously, I was excited for my daughter and my son-in-law buying a home, and they're actually getting a good deal on it. But this tool is available to you lenders, and you can help them make it available to your realtors. So when the realtor has this tool, they're going to be much more successful in listing the home at a right value or helping justify, if the realtor's working with the buyer, can justify buying a home and suggest even improvements they can make to that home after they buy the home to increase the value beyond that. It's just such a powerful tool, Allan.
I can say, if you line up this kitchen with the other kitchens, it's picking up that your kitchen is not as good as the others. If you don't fix it up, you're going to get $60,000 less. But if you do fix it up, you're going to get $30,000 more. And you go out and find out that you're going to make a profit on it. This is so valuable. You could maybe make a profit. You pay 30 and it increases the value 60. You make a profit of 30. If you have the time to do it, you can make a lot of money with the information the AI is giving you. And it brings it to high relief by comparing the photos before and after. We're trying to give all this insight that's about you and bring it all the way down to that house to make transactions happen for the entire workflow, mortgage lender, real estate agent, homeowner. Information is power, and it helps make good transactions happen, which is what we all want.
Very exciting. Allan, how can people get a hold of you and go to your website? If you give that information, please.
Yeah, certainly. Just go to weissanalytics.com, click on free report, fill out a form, and you'll start ordering them. You can also contact us for more information. My staff is there to help, and we're eager to put it in the hands of mortgage bankers, agents, and homeowners. I think it'll help everyone please contact us.
And be sure to check out again our program, Your Home Coast to Coast, that Allan and I are doing together. And full disclosure, I have an interest in Weiss Analytics. I'm going to disclose that. And I'm also serve as an advisor to the board and to Allan. But it's more than that. I believe in what he's doing. I'm really excited what this can do for our real estate market, for homeowners. And that's ultimately what we're all here for, is to create a greater value to homeowners and what we're doing for them, just instead of just giving them a loan, or for the realtors we're working with. Allan, kudos to you for what your vision is and what you're doing. There's so much more that I'm excited that you'll be bringing to market as a result of this. ValShares is something that's going to revolutionize the market. The way you're going to do it is through ValPro and helping establish what that value is. It's really exciting, Allan. Thanks so much for being here with me today.
Thank you, David. Pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Lykken on Lending. Our passion is to bring you the latest insights, trends, and updates from the world of mortgages. So on this show, if you're a seasoned industry veteran or just getting started, it's your go-to source for all things mortgage. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We'll be back soon. Take care, and we'll see you next time on Lykken on Lending.